Hello, this is a continuation video for Natural Selection 2 players who want to learn about commanding. In this video, we're going to cover structures and technology related to aliens. So, starting off right away, we have our Hive here. This map is Veil, which right now just some players are goofing off, and that's a great platform for me to do this video. So here we have the Hive in Cargo. And the Hive has three options to evolve. You can be a crag hive, you can be a shift hive, and you can be a shade hive. Now, this video is really intended for people who have already played a bunch of NS2. You should have already been a skulk, you should have already been at least a gorge, and then maybe if you're good at, maybe from there if you're good at those two, then you can consider commanding once or twice. Be good on the field before you consider commanding. Learn the maps before just jumping into the hive or jumping into the chair. Now, right off the bat, when you start off, what are the choices that you can make as a commander? Well, the two main choices that you have are you can evolve the hive that you have, or you can drop a second hive somewhere else immediately. Now, in this case, we're not at the beginning of the match. There's 191 res, but at the beginning of the match, you've got just enough to drop another hive and do some kind of work from there. Now, typically, depending on the map, but typically the strategy that I like to take is I like to use my res as soon as possible. I like to make sure that the res flow is happening as much as possible. At the same time, there's never too much of it. So in this case, I would go ahead and evolve a shift hive and go from there. But again, it's depending on your choice and how you like to play. A lot of people like to, like in this case, you probably just saw that they dropped a command chair over here and they're dropping a res node over there. So I will go ahead and drop a second hive since we have a lot of res and go from there. Now I'm going to, since we do have a lot of res, I'm going to evolve a shift hive. Now why would I evolve a shift hive? Well, there's all these different advantages to each, and you have to kind of come up with your own. But my personal approach is shift gives you a lot of very interesting abilities in respect to moving around the map and giving very important abilities to your team to allow them to move quickly. So in this case, we've evolved the shift hive. It just let me know that the shift hive is up and ready to go. Well, what can I do with that? Well, I can tell you right now what I can do is I can go ahead and start putting cysts down. Now that's probably a really good thing I need to cover is, as a comm, learn your shortcut keys. All of these are on shortcuts. In this case, this is the A key, and you can sit here and hit A and then click, and we're expanding our sys chain out, and I'm going to expand it out to here, and in fact I'm going to try to go into what we call it's called nano, but sometimes we like to call this on maps, we like to call it double. And we're going to expand in here. Now that I've expanded in here, what's a good thing for me to do? Well, because I have a shift hive, I can drop a shift. Okay, well, what is that going to do for me? By the way, they're attacking the hive right now, but that's okay. We're just goofing off. But if I wanted to take and hold this position, one of the things I would need to do is have a shift in here, and I can drop eggs, or I can spawn my players inside of double, aka nano. Boom, there I just did. Just spawned Weasel Blaster. Looks like there's nodes in here. He's taking care of that. We've got this hive is still going at about like 80%. Other very, very important things that I like to start off with, and I can at the early game, is drifters. Drifters are essential. Aliens don't have the scanning ability like with an observation tower that Marines have. So with drifters, you can set waypoints that send your little scout out here and position them wherever you want, right? Now, drifters are invisible by default. Marines can't see them. They can bump into them and then find them, but you put them in a corner they're probably never going to see them, and if they don't have an observation tower, they'll never know they're there. So they're so essential in real-time strategy play to have some sort of scout that lets you know what's going on. So like, for example, I'll even send one over here. In early game, it's so important to have something that tells you what's going on. So now what we've got here is 2 hives are up. What does that mean? Well, that means we get special abilities. Both hives can evolve stuff. So first thing I'm gonna do, since this is already an evolved hive, I'm gonna upgrade the ability of leap, so all my skulks can jump around faster. Now, in this map, you have to make a decision now. I've already made one hive with a shift hive, and now I can have 2 other types of hives. I can have a crag hive, or I can have a shade hive. Well, why would I pick one or the other? Well, this is a really important point. Depending on the game, what you want to do. Sometimes it's really good to get sneaky and choose a shade hive, and then your enemy will not know what you're doing and when. I'm going to go ahead and drop this extractor now. So I'm going to do that for now. Now, if you're having a tough game and your enemy is really aggressive and is really taking out your team, it's really good to maybe get a crag hive in order to help them defend, have a better physical defense, So now we just finished dropping a shade hive. Well, what is that going to do for me? Well, I'm going to drop shades. Shades cost res. As you can see here, they cost 10 res, but they're so essential in being sneaky. So in this case, I'll drop another one here. This will make it very invisible to other players or to the enemy that I'm there. They may actually walk in there and not see anything. They may not see that there's a whip here. If you don't know what a whip is, which, well, again, I'm hoping anybody playing this or watching this video already has played NS2 and knows the basics. So again, I'm dropping these shades all over the map, running out of res kind of, quickly by dropping shades, but the net effect is that I am hiding everything from the enemy. So we'll put one here, we'll put one here, and this is going to essentially hide that there is a hive here. Now you can see that this Marine is trying to sneak in the vent here, doesn't see that I know he's there. I can see all the things that are going on because I have a drifter here. Drifters are essential to gameplay. Now, we've got Weasel Blaster here running around. What else can we do? Well, we can get more upgrades. Cheaply, I can get this upgrade. I can get Spores. I'm going to go ahead and get Blink, which is essential for fades on the field. If you have not been a fade yet, be one, and you're going to want to have Blink. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to drop some more eggs. There we go. So we know that they have a base over here, and we obviously know they have a base over here. Well, what are we going to do? Well, we need to get another hive, and we need to get upgrades, most importantly. We have 2 different hives. We need to get upgrades for our players. I'm going to start by kind of switching it up, keeping things hidden here. Put down some upgrades. I just put down 2 of the, what am I spacing on, spurs. And I'm going to put down some veils. So the first thing I want to give my players as soon as I have the res, and so since I'm not getting enough res as I want, I'm going to spread out. So dropping more assists. Going to assist up into Overlook. And then looks like I've got enough res now. I'm going to get Celerity. Now, why would I get Celerity first? I get Celerity first because that allows my team to move quickly around, in this case, a very large map. Okay, we're going to get more. Boom. Okay, I'm a little bit worried that they can see what's going on here, so I'm going to, as soon as possible, I'm going to put down another shade to kind of essentially make things disappear. and I need to get some more upgrades. Well, what upgrade should I get next? Well, I personally think that it's really good to give your skulks an early advantage by having silence. Silence basically makes it very difficult for Marines to hear you, if not, it's impossible for them to hear you, and it also makes it very difficult for them to be aware just by listening where you are in combat. It really messes up a Marine's ability to fight. So there's that. I just gave him silence. I've got a couple more veils over here. What's the next one I would get? Well, I personally think that for advanced life forms, having feigned death is pretty important. So we're going to get feigned death next. And I think I dropped another one. Oh, well, look at this. We have more. We have enough res. What's the next thing to get on the Shade Hive side of things? I'm going to get adrenaline. Now, what is adrenaline going to do? Adrenaline obviously is going to give you the ability to have more. You can do more within a longer period of time because you basically have a larger battery in a sense for an alien. So over here, these guys are still messing around. Again, this isn't a serious game. We're just kind of outlining, different things and what to do. And so, important thing to note as an alien commander is the dynamics that are different between Marines is that you have to have 2 hives to get certain upgrades. It's the same thing as having a prototype lab in Marines. These upgrades, which are permanent but are only active when you have 2 hives, you need to get them as soon as possible. So they give you some little hints here as a newer commander. They say, oh well, I can get Bile Bomb right now. So I'll tell this one to get Bile Bomb, and then I'll come over here and I'll finish up and get Spores. Now that concludes all of the upgrades that I can get in a 2 hive scenario. So this is kind of a basic start if you even get this far. Again, the important things to consider are, do you want to drop 2 hives right away in the game, or do you want to go ahead and evolve the hive that you have? I'm kind of a fan of getting your existing hive doing something more and then working your way towards the second hive. But a lot of competitive games, you'll see immediate hive drops, and that's because they're really trying to get their strong players leap. And then again, that's something that if you heard me in my previous video, in the introduction video, that you have to really adapt to the type of players you have. If you have advanced players, you may be able to take more risks. You may be able to do more important things. But when you get a sense of who you're playing with, and if they're more on the noob side of things, you may need to be a little more defensive and just kind of hope for the best. So right now we have Weasel Blaster doing something over here. I'm going to drop the 3rd hive. Again, all in fun. So most importantly, I wanted to cover on the alien side structures and technology. So the main technology we're looking at have all been researched for 2 hives. You have these different buildings, like I covered what a shade does. A shade has the ability for you to, one, it regenerates adrenaline quickly. It also will allow you to put eggs in places where you normally could not put eggs, so your team can spawn there. Other things that are important, good to have whips on the field when necessary. If a Marine comes in here and doesn't notice, he's going to probably get hit by 2 whips and die within a few moments. Again, depending on how good he is. Other important ones are, obviously a shade. What can you do with a shade? You can deploy ink to prevent from scans. You can also send out hallucinations. Other cool features are evolving an echo, which allows you to transport buildings different places. This one I haven't really perfected yet, but it's one of the available options to do. These guys are having a party. So 3rd hive is on its way. Now you can't do it right here, but there's a feature called Nutrient Mist, which if you use, depending on what's going on in the area, you might get. Sorry guys. Depending on what you're doing in the area, you might get an improved response of different buildings and when they're growing and whatever.